Welcome back to Small College Conversations. I'm Anthony Grassi with NAIA Ticker. Happy to sit down this morning with SCAD Savannah Director of Athletics, Amanda Haverstick. Amanda, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So we'll start with a recent announcement for you guys. This past fall, you announced the addition of women's flag football, as many have around the country. You guys have hired a new head coach, Christian North, from the high school ranks. You have your first prospect camp coming up later this month, as we sit here in February. Right now, what is the expectation for this new program?
We are super excited to add women's flag football. I mean, SCAD's always been at the forefront of any growing trends academically, and that really, also helps us in the athletic world, just really making sure we're staying current. And we do have a prospect camp in about a week. He's got 45 athletes signed up for that. We're excited. I mean, flag football is just exploding worldwide, and the attention on it right now across all collegiate divisions, high school. It's been amazing to see the growth. And for us, it makes sense to add something that was really going to elevate us in SCAD athletics.
You guys add flag football in the Sun Conference, which is loaded. On top of the fact that there will be, when you guys start, 7 NAI programs within the state of Georgia, on top of a number of Division II, Division III club programs. What is the pitch, the idea around the unique value proposition to differentiate yourself from the other NAI programs within the state, within the conference, in the country?
Sure. And that's a great question. And I think it's not only women's flag football. I mean, it goes for all of our sports. I mean, SCAD's such a unique university with our creative careers, with what we do academically. And so for women's flag football, it's the same as any other sport that we have. Really, our coaches are pushing, finding that artist athlete that's a top creative and a really fine-tuned athlete as well. So really getting those athletes on campus, showing them what we have to offer academically. And I'm excited to see what women's flag football can do next year.
How unique is it? And obviously you've been at SCAD for a long time, Hall of Fame coach in your own right. What does the onboarding process look like for a new head coach? As I mentioned, you just hired a new head coach for flag football. What does that process look like that may be different or unique given the student athlete, the artist athlete population that you guys have?
Well, first of all, you mentioned the Hall of Fame, and I just wanted to say that was a tremendous honor, super humbled by that. And 2 of my greatest colleagues that I competed against, Brandon Miller at Kaiser and Ben Rickett at Dalton State, nominated me without me knowing. And that was such a great honor. And I loved competing against them and their teams, and just really thank them and admire them so much in their profession and what they're still doing coaching and all the championships that they've won. So first of all, I was very humbled by that, and that was a great honor. But, I think for our coaches, no matter if they've been here 15, 20 years, which we have a lot of long-term just coaches with a great tenure here at SCAD, and we have a lot of new coaches. And for anybody that we bring in, I think it's important to really focus on recruiting the right type of athlete to be here. And I mean that more on the academic side and inside the classroom, because if they're not succeeding in the classroom, if they're not really wanting to major in something we have to offer here, then they're not going to produce on the field. I feel like they really go hand in hand. So we did bring Christian North on to coach women's flag football next year. And in my pitch, he was our most recent hire. To him as a coach is, not only do we want to develop an athlete on the playing surface, we want to make sure in training that we're making them a better athlete, but also really supporting them academically. And then when they leave here in 4 years, making them the best version of themselves that we can make them. So really a athlete, student, person is our focus here, no matter, what sport it is, what coach we have, what we're hiring for, is really focusing on the whole person. I think that's a pitch, no matter who we're hiring, is making sure that we're really focusing on that whole person development of that athlete while they're here.
And as you mentioned at the top of this, you were very accomplished in your own right as a coach at the same institution. How does your experience, the success that you have, act as a resource and help inform how you both select coaches, but also help develop them throughout their time at SCAD?
Yes. I mean, I've been at SCAD a long time, since 2001, and came when women's golf was just beginning. So really was able to grow that program from scratch, from the ground up. So those years of focusing on recruiting and in building a team and making sure we're competing in the right events and the practice hours, and all my alumni that can look back now and they really built a program and we were successful, and I'm so proud of that. But I think for me, I really focused on getting the right artist athlete here, and maybe that athlete grew and what we were really looking for as the years went on. But I think we have to come back to making sure we're recruiting the right type of athlete, and that's an artist athlete here. It's a creative. It's somebody that wants to study what we're offering, and they will be very successful and they will go on to an amazing career. SCAD is so great about building that academic structure and making sure you're so highly trained in your major. And so for me, and I think I tell all coaches that it's back to recruiting. Recruiting is the lifeblood of your program, and making sure you can get that athlete in here that will succeed academically, and then will push your program to new heights in what you're trying to accomplish on the athletic side too.
Is there I've had conversations with a number of ADs, all different kinds of institutions, from your institutes of technology now to our colleges. Does that inform or shift how your department operates? In your instance, maybe it's more so how everything looks. You have a breadth of experience, of understanding, of expertise around both the people that are educating and the artists themselves. How does all those things kind of mesh or impact each other?
I think on an operational side for our coaches, it's really important, when we can, to control the schedule to make sure that athletes aren't missing too much class. For here, you've got a class that meets 20 times throughout a quarter, and that's it. If we're missing too many, then they're missing that instruction in the classroom, they're missing that development on the academic side, and then they fall behind. And that's, for us, is so important. Being on a quarter system and being in this block schedule where you have a 2.5 hour block, you miss one of those, you miss a lot. So we can't always control the conference schedule. The conference will make our schedule for us in a lot of our sports, but when we can control the schedule and keep them in the classroom as much as possible, I think that's a unique thing that our coaches have to make sure that they do, because that athlete needs to thrive academically for you to get the best that you can out of them on the field. But as far as our department looks, we got a great group of coaches. We have an awesome group of student workers that work with our sports information department, creating graphics, video, photography, really bringing their skills as students into what we're trying to promote within the department, which I think is unique. And we also added an element into our awards ceremony. We have each team create a hype video. And that, not only is fun to watch, and it's amazing to see what they can do, but it's also to show what they can do. And so each team members will create their own video that then they can put on social media later. It can be a recruiting tool, but it really highlights, we show those at the award ceremony, each team, and it really shows how talented these athletes are. And I think it's important as coaches, as administration, to really support that they're here for academics and that's a passion, but equally they have a passion for their sport. And to be able to do it at SCAD, there aren't many places you can do that.
Your transition from coach to Hall of Fame coach, to administrator. How challenging was that step? And given that you came from a golf background, which, although it competes as a team sport, inherently golf is a more individualistic sport. Mm-hmm. How did that leadership evolution, I guess, progress?
I've been at SCAD when I took over as AD for over 22 years. So I feel like that was a huge benefit for me and for our coaching staff, that I had been a coach here. I knew what the academic structure looked like. I knew what the classroom structure looked like. I had seen SCAD grow in those 22 years and add more buildings and add more majors and really stay current with what was going on in the art and design world. So I think as a coach, in recruiting athletes to be here and having success that we had, that really helped me and helped our coaches know that I was here to support them. I was really focused on getting them what they needed to be successful and on the field, on the court, on the course, whatever the sport was. But having that as experience as a coach, I think really benefited me moving into the athletic director role, because I could really be an advocate for them and really help them. Hopefully they see this, help them succeed and achieve the things that they want to achieve with their teams.
And how has, maybe as you look back, you started in 2001 as the golf coach. You were the women's golf coach for 11, 12 years, and then you transitioned to director of golf role before you ultimately won a national championship in 2018.
Yes.
The growth, and you started at SCAD, you can correct me if I'm wrong, fairly early in your overall professional career. The growth that you can reflect on now and see from 01 to 12 to national championship to 18 to stepping into the chair a couple years ago, what were maybe the biggest shifts as you look back over that 20-year stretch?
Yeah, I did start at SCAD when I was young. I was 23 when I was a head coach. And I think I was a different head coach when I started than when I finished. Obviously, as a coach, if you should evolve, you should be growing, you should be looking at how you can improve, what can I do differently, how can I grow and learn. I think I was pretty young, so I'm sure my players would say I was, pretty tough in the beginning, but felt like I needed to establish that because I was a younger coach. But as the years went on and I really tried to grow as a coach and implement different things in my program and build my own culture, I was a different coach when I left. And I think I was always organized. I think my players would say that. Disciplined, very competitive. But hopefully, throughout that time, I started a family, and I think that was a unique aspect to me as a coach and helped me see things differently. I was older, but really it was fun to grow as SCAD was growing. SCAD took a huge leap from, I feel like, 2000 to 2020 in adding campuses across Atlanta, online, La Crosse, France, really growing all of our academic programs. And we have just a plethora of different creative careers, and it's amazing to see. So, I felt like I was kind of growing alongside as SCAD was growing, and really love to see the growth that the college has had. And it's just it's a special place.
You mentioned the word culture, which is, one of the buzzwords of all buzzwords, probably,
Yeah.
if you were to chart them out. But I'm curious, a couple questions on that. The first being, how would you describe the culture within the athletic department now, and is there maybe a slight difference in what you want the culture to be right now?
I love the culture we have right now. Our coaches are very close, and that's intentional. We have a WhatsApp group with the entire staff, plus sports med, plus admin, plus some of our admissions contacts. We're all on one text group together, and to not only get information out there that we need them to know, but to celebrate different wins that everyone's having, to breaking records, to coaches of the year, to big wins that a program might have. And I implemented that very early on because I felt like that was important to have a place where we could everyone is everywhere. Everyone is busy, practices, competitions, traveling. So to have a place where we could really celebrate some of the great things that are going on, I thought was important. So we implemented that really early on. I intentionally built what I called colonies. So I paired some teams together, a colony within a hive. The colony's strong, the hive will be strong. And, paired teams together where they had to go support each other. And, hopefully it didn't feel forced. I thought it was important that, for example, lacrosse went out to tennis went to watch lacrosse, where they felt like they had that support from within the athletic department, not only the coaches, but the student athletes, but they were learning what somebody else's competition looked like. What does their practice look like? How do they play? I mean, in really getting to know each other. So for me, that was important because we are so spread out. We have a lot of teams. Our facilities are pretty spread out geographically, and everyone is competing everywhere. It's a busy time for us. So I love our staff. I think we have a great group of coaches that are very close, that hang out outside of SCAD and really do support each other. And I feel like you can feel that when you see us together as a staff, when you come to our meetings, when you watch us compete, and you see a bunch of coaches in the stands supporting another team. It's pretty cool.
As you were going through you touched on some things that kind of answer the second question, but I'm curious if I was listening to something a couple weeks ago, and they said that the person made the argument that for the best cultures, the culture is an action as opposed to maybe a thing. And you mentioned pairing teams together in colonies and basically forcing them, although the forcing always has more of a negative connotation, to understand and support and be there for other teams. And I imagine over time that will become less of a forcing function and more of a that's the way that is a part of the culture? Are there other ways, and maybe for you specifically in the chair, where you've kind of thought there's an action that embodies maybe that culture is an action idea?
Yeah, I think, especially as a coach, I mean, you're right. Some of it in the beginning might feel forced. I don't think that's the intention, to force a culture, to force somebody to, support each other, or to do this or this action as a coach to create a team culture. But I think you do have to start with that. I think you have to start with that framework of looking at what do you want it to look like? What do I want my culture to look like for the department, for my team? What does that look like? And then work backwards, and how are we going to build that? And sometimes you do have to implement steps that are a bit more, concrete. If this is what we're going to do, and over time it does become natural, it becomes a habit, just like anything you would do. So, I think early on, some of those steps might have felt like, okay, this is, what we're going to do, just like we do community service, just like obviously you've got your practice structure and, different things that our department represents. And, looking at that culture, I think in the beginning it might have felt like some of those things were things that we were trying to implement, but over time, you're right, it's taken on a life of its own. And you look at it, a bowling competition, and you see soccer athletes that have come to watch, and it's pretty neat to see how close the athletes and the coaches have gotten through trying to create those pockets of time where we can all support each other.
Now, if we step back, your athletic department is coming off back-to-back finishes, 11th ranked finishes in the Directors Cup. What was your message heading into this year as you, I guess, strive to surpass 11, or guys move up from 11?
We don't talk about it. I've never brought that up as something that we need to do this. We need to be top 10. We must achieve this. Even as a coach, I was process. Like, you cannot worry about the results. Of course, we know what we wanted to accomplish. We know where we want to get to. But if you're so focused on that, then you're not thinking about the steps in which you need to get there. So for me as a coach, I think my players would say that I said process all the time. Like, the accolades will come, the honors will come, all the big picture stuff will be there if you're just focused on the process. So to be honest with you, I never talk about the Directors Cup. I mean, at the end of a year, hey, here's how we finished compared to everybody else. Really, look at the chart. But it's not a topic of conversation. It's not something I hammer in staff meetings. I mean, they would all say, I never talk about it. Now, if we achieve a ranking we've never achieved before, we're going to celebrate that, of course, but it's not a sole topic of conversation. I never bring it up. I think if we're doing the right things, recruiting the right type of athletes, getting the success we need on the course, then those accolades will come. So process, results will come.
How would you define that process? I imagine some of it is more qualitative. I'm curious how you are, I guess, how you are measuring and maybe benchmarking that process as it continues throughout a year, multiple years.
Right. And our department, like I mentioned earlier, we have a staff that's been here a really long time in certain sports, and then we have a lot of new coaches. So I think for me, starting off in this role is, what do you need to be successful? Is that an operating budget? Is it scholarship budget? Is it equipment? Is it facilities? It's different for everybody. For every sport that we have, their needs are different, and what they need to support them to achieve the goals that they might have. If you are a coach that's taking over a program that maybe hadn't been so successful, maybe winning a conference championship is the next step. For somebody else, it might be winning a national championship like women's soccer did in 2024, and they had a long run of being very successful and then finally got that national championship win. So I think everyone's needs are different, and it's really just being accessible, listening to coaches, making sure that I'm receptive to the things that are challenges for them and things that we can try to improve upon. We're building a beautiful facility for flag football, lacrosse, and soccer that should open in the fall. Our locker room facility, it's going to be gorgeous. And those little things to support the athletes that we have, the teams that we have, it's a testament to the alumni that have come before and the support that we have from the administration. So, I think it's really looking at what we need, looking at what each team needs to be successful, because it's all different. They're all different, and what they want to achieve is really going to vary team to team.
And your background as a coach lends itself to understanding the things are not always easy to define. Things may not always go in the same direction. There's going to be ebbs and flows, and you can relate to that more than I can, as an example. But I'm curious, is there for each coach, do you have like a rubric, a matrix? Is it it's just embedded within the conversation you guys have on a weekly, monthly, annual basis? Is there like a structure to it that you work off of, or is it you kind of have these individual conversations, and that over time that informs what the goal is at the beginning? You check in periodically, and you consistently evaluate.
Yeah, I think you hit it spot on. I mean, I see everybody so frequently. I know what's going on in their program. They know they can come to me and my door's open. We have a lot of conversations, whether it be about budget, whether it be about recruiting, whether it's just how they competed last weekend. So I could go through a list and probably tell you where everybody's at, what they want to accomplish, what recruiting looks like. I mean, we try to meet monthly because I know everyone is really busy. About 85% of our teams are in season right now. So everyone is running in a million different directions. But, I feel like I see everybody so frequently. It is a close group. My office is in the middle of all of our offices, so they can find me at all times. But I think that's important. So really just trying to be accessible where they feel like that we can talk about whatever it is that they may need, a challenge that they have, something that might elevate them that they hadn't even thought about. Maybe it's a recruiting challenge. Maybe it's something with the team, whether it be equipment, facilities. So, I think for me, being accessible, really being approachable, and trying to understand what it is that they need, because every team is different. They really are. Everyone's needs are different.
We'll get to the facility in a moment, because I don't want to skip over that. As I look through website, staff directory, I look at a lot of staff directories just for all the stuff that we do, but there aren't many small college athletic departments across the country that have a performance mental health clinician. There are even less that have two listed on the staff directory. Yeah. So explain to me the structure with which those two individuals support your artist athletes, and where that idea, I guess, originates from.
So SCAD has a department called Be Well, and it's focused on the overall health of each student. So mental health, physical health, and we have two individuals within that department that have sports psychology backgrounds. And so they not only work with Be Well as mental health counselors, but they also work with our teams, and not only in a classroom session, but they may come out to a practice. I see them frequently at our games. One of them I saw over the weekend at women's lacrosse. So they watch our athletes compete. They help them with any sort of mental training that they need within the sport. And we use them quite frequently. I would say all of our teams work with them in some capacity, some more often than others, and we're so thankful for them. One of them played collegiate soccer, so they really have that experience and that background to help us. And I think it's important because it's not just a sports psychology aspect of it. They're there as anything that we need when it comes to mental health, which is so important. So SCAD does a fantastic job providing those resources for athletes, non-athletes, faculty, staff. And we're just so lucky that there's two within that department with that sports psychology background. And we use them as frequently as we can.
Now, the facility that you mentioned, get us up to speed on, you said it's set to open this fall, which is super exciting.
Yes.
The impact, the scope, and the ultimate, benefit that it has on the overall department.
Oh, it's first of all, it's gorgeous. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. And they are cruising in construction. It is going very quickly. It's slated to open in September of this fall. And we are so excited. It's a long time coming, but wouldn't be possible without the support from our president and co-founder, Paula Wallace. And she really it was important to her that we have this beautiful facility. So it really sits adjacent to our game field. And then it's really close to our equestrian center also. So we have two barns, a lot of land out there for our equestrian center that's very successful. But I think to provide that locker room facility that's going to be beautiful, it's going to be state of the art for our athletes. I hope it makes them feel very proud. I hope it makes them feel whether it's an alum, a current athlete, or a recruit, that we're really elevating athletics and wanting them to feel proud of being here, of what their facility is going to look like, to really have a home for their teams. It's going to be gorgeous. We're very excited and can't wait for everybody to see it when they come play us.
So I'll get you out on this last topic of the priority for you that is of utmost importance. It can be multiple over the next calendar year is what?
Ooh, most important priority. Well, I think it's to see the facility through, to make sure that internally it has the things that we need to really make it functional for our teams, and to be able to launch that and to have a ceremony to really show everyone this facility. I think that's going to be very special. I think for maybe a long-term goal is potentially to add more sports. I think that's facility-based as well. I won't mention what, but we have in mind some things that we'd love to see here, and maybe some things we'd love to see back here, if that gives you any hints. But, really, I think it's just continuing to grow, continuing to support our coaches. I feel like we have so many programs that are really close to breaking through and to accomplishing something they've never done before. So how can we help them do that? What do they need? And just making sure that I'm focused on that side of it, like really supporting our staff, making sure our athletes know that they're supported. So I don't know if I could put a number on how many big goals, or, a very specific, we want to win this championship or that championship. But I really think we're in a good spot. And I think hopefully you look up in a year or two and it's like, whoa, like, look at what they've done. I mean, and who would have thought? I mean, a lot of people, I think we get that you're an art and design school, you have athletics. Well, we are the art and design school with varsity athletics. So, I think we get a little, maybe not as much credit at times, but it's either prove them right or prove them wrong. I always told my teams that. So I think we're in a great spot. We've got good people on staff. We've got amazing, talented athletes and support from SCAD. And so it'll be fun. I think we'll look up in a couple of years and maybe surprise a lot of people.
A great note to end on. Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.